think we should have more of those talks instead of like frameworks. Frameworks are kind of nice to pick up, but to actually learn what's under the hood is more important in JavaScript. And for me, I kind of follow Getify. If anyone knows who Getify is, no, it's a guy who's like very famous in JavaScript community. Anyway, so yeah, my name is Michel Herszak from Germany. I live in like downtown Edmonton right now. I think I'm going to live here for a little longer than the next 5 years. Right, so yeah, I'm a freelancer for JavaScript, especially like Meteor and Ionic. And I've worked with a couple of technologies before, like Java, C++, and all those frameworks. But I really like development better, and front-end and back-end developer. Right, so you can add me a message on various social media platforms. So my talk today is about Angular 1 to Angular 2, how you should be porting Angular 1 to Angular 2. That's kind of a short notice. I never really did it. I was talking to Mark, and he said, well, I'm going to do the service worker thing, and maybe do something else. I said, okay, I'll try the Angular 1 to Angular 2. And what happened is I was excited to do it. That's whenever you start a new research, you're always excited because you think you're the first one, but no, you're not the first one. I encountered so many blog posts about porting from Angular 1 to Angular 2. It's like, it got so, it's like, I don't want to do it anymore. Anyway, so I figured maybe it shouldn't be a talk, maybe it should be more of here's a link that I have used, and I can just go through the little example, and that's it. But the links are actually more important. The blog posts are way better than what I can provide you with. But before I jump into this, I have two announcements to make, and one of which is about Meteor 2. So I'm going to just quickly introduce you to Apollo, Nova, and then there's a machine learning hub in Alberta. Like, we give it birth at the moment. We'll build the framework. And I kind of want to know who's in machine learning at the moment. And then I'm going to start we're going to talk about NG1 to NG2. So Apollo, I don't know, has anyone heard of Apollo? Which is kind of a new ambition by Meteor Group. But they're trying has anyone ever heard of Meteor? Okay, so that's it, kind of like this. The platform itself wants to this platform itself wants to become more of a tool where you put together different frameworks like React and front end or Angular, and you can decide whether to use MongoDB or SQL or use different services for your application. But what it actually does is it wants to become more of a reactive platform for you per se. So it uses GraphQL and wants to make that GraphQL reactive. So I don't know. So nobody's heard of it yet. Okay. So Apollo is kind of I ended up talking to one of the lead developers this week, and they wanted to know what we expect from Apollo, and I said, well, I have no clue what to expect. I expect it to work like Meteor. And I said, I'm not a Rails developer, and I have no clue what backend Rails. And he said, well, that's actually the kind of group that we're trying to talk to, because most of the Rails developers have, let's say, REST endpoints, right? And a couple of REST endpoints. What Apollo is trying to do is you'll have only one endpoint, and you put it in a large object, and that object defines your fields that you're requesting from the server. So we'll have a GraphQL layer that will translate whatever you send in and send you back the data based on how you define your GraphQL layer. But that's all in a reactive way. And the good thing about this layer is you can basically put in Rails apps, Rails apps, you can still use them. But extend them with more reactivity, which is kind of great. And I don't know, who's a Rails developer here? Maybe you guys. The question for you would be: do you work with two people, one front end, one in the back end? Or usually is it like one person?
It's a bit of a mix. Yeah.
Do these two people have issues when they're communicating about endpoints, and how often do these endpoints change?
Ours are pretty static, because like our API is public, so once it's created, we basically need to support it as is. Ours are basically separate, so our API endpoints have a versioning, so if we need to make a breaking change, we have to communicate an existing API for clients that are using it, and then release a new API that has new features. So we try and keep our API endpoints back as possible.
So there's no big issue, and you guys have like some like routines or methods in place to make your app more reactive, like to have like to notify different clients when something in the database changes.
So at the moment, like, we're not going to do this like forever, but at the moment we maintain like our API V1 and V2, and just up to this point, and we're on V4 now. V3 never got public because it was a bit of a disaster. But yeah, so V1 and V2 are both blocked at this point, and but V4 is where we're putting our new work. Does that answer your question?
So my problem with Apollo is, I think it's a great idea, but I don't see the usage yet right now. The first version will be not reactive, but will be very important to the Rails community. I've not done any work in Rails, so I've no clue if this will be really useful for anyone at the moment, so we'll see down the road. I was just trying to introduce this and maybe see if there's someone here, some Rails developers who would pick it up and say,
this might be useful for us, because like, we actually have, when we hit an API endpoint, we have a lot of fields, some of which are quite expensive, that we could return if we want to return all fields by default. So you want to like go and get a calendar entry, right? So we actually, you have to specify the fields that you want for this calendar entry. So it's kind of a bit GraphQL-ish, but I think this does sound kind of interesting, because it would be maybe a nicer way if I say I need these two calendar entries and this and that. I could do like one request and get grabbing them all. I don't need like a little overhead all the time to request that entry.
yeah, the advantage would be you have a cache on your client, and you have your database, and the cache would actually tell the database with your request. Well, actually, your cache would look for changes, like user changes, and would only send that one field through the wire. So you, first of all, have greater security and less data flow, and you have only one entry, right? One endpoint. So I think maybe I just have to wait. Anyway, so this is Apollo. Nova, they're all space-related, these meteor projects. Anyway, so there was Telescope. Has anyone ever heard of Telescope? It's built on Meteor. It's basically for Meteor developers who want to put in like minimum viable products quickly. So you get all these like accounts, packages, you get like template packages, you can extend your templates. You get a newsletter package, newsletter working in the background. I think you have some like Spider-Build package and Phantom.js packages, because JavaScript is hard for CL. But all these packages are already like mixed up, like already packaged for you, so this whole thing can be customized by you, but it comes with a lot of functionality already. So the problem with Telescope was that it was bound to Blaze, a template engine by Meteor. And now this should become more loose in the front end. So you have the opportunity to use React or Angular or Blaze tools.
It sounds similar to Yeoman.
I don't know. I thought Yeoman is a creator, like you put together a bunch of, you configure the application, but that's not Nova. Nova is more about, it's based on a platform, and it's already like a code base. You plug in like NPM. You use like packages, ready available packages, and then extend your platform based on whatever you need. Not like Yeoman. I mean, you can scaffold, of course, it's a scaffold, but it's not like Yeoman. Okay, so I'm working on a